Hey everybody, it's Jim here, and recently I made a video where I sat and I played every single humbucker guitar I had to determine which ones I wanted to keep and which ones I wanted to sell. However, there were a few instruments that kind of sat in the gray zone. So today I want to do a comparison that I mentioned I thought would be interesting in that video, and that is to compare this Gibson ES Les Paul against the 77 Albatross. I realize most people that click these sorts of videos are the most interested in the sound comparisons, so that is where we are going to start. But before we do so, I just want to take a minute to say thank you to all of you who have been supporting the channel, whether you're liking the videos, leaving comments, subscribing, and becoming new members of this community. I truly am grateful for each and every one of you. Now, on towards today's demo. We're going to be using some of the usual suspects. The Tone King Gremlin amplifier mic'd up by the SM57. We're going to have two sources of drive from pedals. We're going to have the Benson preamp for a little bit of crunch, and then the Love pedal Purple Plexi for a more hairy kind of sound. Reverb and delay, if I do use any delay, will both become from the Strymon Volante. When it comes to guitar tones, it's all pretty subjective, and honestly, I'm very happy about that. Things would get very stale if we were all going after the same exact things, or worse, we all use the same exact gear. But if I'm just talking frankly and talking about what I prefer as a guitar player and the sound comparison between the two guitars you just heard, when we start with the driven sounds, I think that's when they're the closest to one another. There's not much in it. I think that this guitar actually has a little bit more girth to it, a little bit more bottom end. Maybe it's because it does not have the F holes in it, so it resonates a little bit more. Or could be just a factor of pickups, things like that. However, once we get into the clean tones, I greatly preferred the 77 because I really felt like there was way more high end, way more kind of airiness coming through with the sound, a much more clear kind of vibe going on, and just something that I gravitate towards much more so than the sounds that I get from this guitar. But how a guitar sounds is only a part of the equation when it comes to how much you might actually bond with an instrument. Feel is a gigantic factor, at least for me, when it comes to these sorts of decisions. And talking about how these guitars feel against each other as well, they're both top class instruments. I'm not sitting here with budget line guitars. This is a one-of-one handmade guitar by the master luthiers at Divisor in Nagano, Japan. And that Gibson ES Les Paul was made by some of the finest people at that factory at the time. And let me tell you something, it's all preference. You couldn't go wrong with either one. Again though, I favor this one because the neck on this doesn't have the standard gloss nitrocellulose finish on it. As you can see, it's a little bit more porous, and also just the guitar feels a little bit more compact to me because of it being a double cut. I feel like I have a little bit more access and a little bit easier time getting to the first fret, and I really do enjoy that. It's part of the reason why I love guitars like the Fender Jaguar so much. It gives me a very similar playing experience. But with all that being said, both of these really are great guitars. However, I feel like they are really similar to each other, and I don't need both. So I've decided I'm going to keep this one. If you would watch that video, you would have known that this was never up for debate. This is a lifer guitar. I am never, ever going to sell this one. And I am going to list the Gibson ES Les Paul for sale for somebody to fully appreciate, fully enjoy, or worst case scenario for some collector to keep, put in its case, and just have it sit in a closet or sit under a bed. But that would be sad because it truly is a great guitar in its own right. But I want to leave you with this thought. A lot of people would look at a comparison like this and say, you know what? This brand is unknown. What happens if something happens in my personal life, or I find my dream guitar? Because that always happens to us. We watch a video, we see one of our favorite players playing something new, and that's going to be the thing that stands out and makes us able to finish a record, finish a song, go out and perform, whatever excuse you want to come up with to justify buying a new guitar. Resale value, all these sorts of little things play a factor in the decision as well. With that being said though, I want you to just sometimes think about how you feel when you play the guitar. And sometimes maybe less is more. Honestly, I had no business purchasing that ES Les Paul to begin with because I had already had this. I already knew that I loved this guitar, and well, it was going to be a tall order for anything to come as close to this one as I had hoped in my head it would. And although the Gibson did do an excellent job, it really is a great guitar. I've wanted one of those for so long. This is just something that works for me. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. Don't always think just because of the name on the headstock, you're going to be upgrading, so to speak. And if you have something you really love, just play it, which is what I'm going to be doing more with this guy now that we got one less guitar similar to it in the rack. That's all I have for you guys today. If you found this useful or enjoyable, I know this is strange because I don't know how many people will have ever had these two guitars together at once or even at all in their collections, as they are very limited models, but it was something I wanted to film for myself, so I figured why not turn the camera on and share it with all of you. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Tell somebody in your life that you love that you do love them. Make some time to play guitar, get outside, get some fresh air, and get off the internet. Take it easy, everybody.